The Boston Celtics are standing at a dangerous crossroads. After the painful 105-103 loss to the Utah Jazz on Monday, their record now sits at 3 wins and 5 losses. And while the game showed heart, especially in the final minutes, it also revealed something far more worrying. A pattern that could define their entire season. Rebounding. Or rather, the lack of it. Before we dive into what this really means for Boston's future, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and click the hype button so you never miss another update about the Boston Celtics news. Now, let's get into it. When the Celtics lose control of the glass, they lose the game. It's that simple. They currently rank 29th in defensive rebounding percentage, 29th in opponent offensive rebounding percentage, 28th in opponent offensive rebounds, and 25th in second chance points allowed. Every one of those stats screams one word: trouble. And that trouble is now leading many fans to one conclusion. Trade for a center. Fast. Reddit is full of ideas, from names like Naz Reid of the Minnesota Timberwolves to other mid-tier big men across the league. The reasoning seems logical. Add size, add depth, fix the problem. But here's the issue. Fixing this season might destroy the next 5. Let's be honest. The Celtics' frontcourt depth was always going to be thin. Even with Neemias Queta performing better than expected, Boston is still short on reliable bigs. Losing Jason Tatum's 9 rebounds per game doesn't help either. But trading for another center right now? That could be catastrophic. Think about it. Any realistic deal for a capable center would cost multiple first-round picks. And remember, we're not talking about elite, franchise-changing talent. Naz Reid, for instance, just signed a 4-year $103 million deal, but would he really push Boston into championship territory this season? No! The truth is, that player doesn't exist on the trade market. And that's where the danger lies. Giving up valuable assets to chase short-term results rarely works. The Celtics don't need to save this season. They need to secure the next one. A move made in desperation could leave them without flexibility, without picks, and without a clear path when Jason Tatum fully recovers from his ruptured Achilles tendon. There's a painful irony here. Sometimes, the smartest way to win later is to lose now. Boston owns its draft pick for next June, a class many experts are calling one of the deepest in years. Use that pick right, and you could land a strong rotation player on a team-friendly deal for the next 4 seasons. That's how you build long-term success. But of course, there are no guarantees. Just ask the Golden State Warriors. 5 years ago, they tanked after injuries to Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. They landed the 2nd overall pick, used it on James Wiseman, and 2 years later he was gone. The message is clear. Tanking isn't a golden ticket. But neither is panic trading. So here's the real question Celtics fans need to ask themselves. Do you want a quick fix, or do you want a dynasty? Because chasing a short-term solution might satisfy frustration now, but it could erase everything this team has built for the future. The Celtics must resist the urge to gamble away their tomorrow just to survive today. The margin for error is razor thin, and every decision Brad Stevens makes from this point forward will shape not just this season, but the next era of Boston basketball. The team's future is in their hands. The only question is, will they protect it before it slips away? The NBA rumor mill is heating up again, and this time the spotlight is on a shocking 3-team trade scenario involving the Boston Celtics, the Sacramento Kings, and the Memphis Grizzlies. And yes, the names involved are massive. Ja Morant, DeMar DeRozan, Anthony Simons. 3 stars, 3 directions, and 1 major question. Who truly wins this deal? Let's start with what we know. Ja Morant's relationship with the Memphis Grizzlies has reached a breaking point. Reports say the 2-time All-Star is unhappy with the coaching staff and frustrated with how this season has unfolded. The Grizzlies are sitting at 4 wins and 7 losses, far from the playoff picture, and the franchise appears ready to rebuild. According to multiple sources, teams like the Sacramento Kings have started to monitor the situation closely. Now comes the hypothetical scenario that has everyone talking. A 3-way trade that would send Morant to Sacramento, DeMar DeRozan to Boston, and Anthony Simons to Memphis. The deal also includes multiple draft picks, with the Grizzlies receiving 2 first-rounders and additional second-round selections, while Boston would gain a veteran scorer to stabilize its offense after the injuries to Jason Tatum and the departures of Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. For Sacramento, this move would be an all-in play. The Kings have been desperate for a franchise point guard since losing De'Aaron Fox in February of 2025. Adding Morant would give them a new face of the franchise and someone capable of electrifying an entire city. He's only 26 years old, averaging 19.2 points and nearly 8 assists per game. A change of scenery might reignite his all-star level of play. Memphis, on the other hand, would finally embrace what seems inevitable: a rebuild. Trading Morant and already having moved Desmond Bane to Orlando for 4 first-round picks, the Grizzlies would focus on collecting assets. Simons, Monk, and Walsh give them a young core to experiment with, plus valuable picks for the future. They'd enter next June's draft, which is projected to be one of the deepest in years, with flexibility and hope for a fresh start. But the Celtics' angle is where this gets truly intriguing. Boston is currently 5 wins and 6 losses this season. Without Tatum, the offense has shifted from its traditional three-point heavy style to one that relies more on the mid-range. And few players in the league have mastered that area better than DeMar DeRozan. The 36-year-old is still averaging over 20 points per game on 50% shooting. For a team looking to stay afloat in a tough Eastern Conference, DeRozan could be a lifeline. Yet, there's a serious question hanging over this idea. Is DeRozan really the right fit for a team built around Tatum, Brown, and White? The Celtics' long-term plan has always been about spacing, shooting, and youth. DeRozan doesn't offer much from beyond the arc, and his age doesn't align with the core's timeline. Adding him might help Boston win a few more games now, but it could limit their future flexibility, both financially and strategically. Still, this scenario raises an important dilemma. Should the Celtics play for the present or protect their future? Because every time Boston enters a discussion like this, the same risk appears: sacrificing the future for short-term gain. If this trade became real, it would send shockwaves through the league. Ja Morant in Sacramento, Anthony Simons in Memphis, DeRozan wearing green and white at TD Garden. 3 careers reshaped, 3 franchises changed overnight. But in a deal this big, someone always loses more than they gain. And that leads to the final, crucial question that Celtics fans need to ask themselves right now. If Boston decides to join a blockbuster like this, chasing another short-term boost, would they be improving their present or quietly destroying their future? The Dallas Mavericks are searching for answers, and the name now circulating in league circles might surprise you: Peyton Pritchard. The Boston Celtics champion and reigning 6th man of the year is being mentioned as a potential reinforcement for a Mavericks team that has opened the season with just 2 wins and 6 losses, despite the arrival of the number 1 overall pick, Cooper Flagg. But before we dive deeper into what this could mean for both sides, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and click the hype button, because this story could shape the next big move of the season. Now, here's where things get interesting. Boston's president of basketball operations, Brad Stevens, spent the summer making tough financial decisions. With Jason Tatum expected to miss most, if not all, of this 2025 to 2026 campaign, Stevens restructured the roster, moving on from Kristaps Porzingis, Drew Holiday, Luke Kornet, and even veteran Al Horford. The goal was simple: reset the books and prepare for the next era of contention. But even in this transition, one player has remained untouchable: Peyton Pritchard. Bleacher Report's Dan Favale recently suggested that Dallas should target Pritchard to stabilize its shaky rotation. He called the guard more than a microwave scorer, highlighting his elite handle, strong footwork, and ability to create plays off the dribble. For a Mavericks team that's struggling to find consistency behind Luka Doncic, the idea makes sense. Pritchard could instantly become a reliable secondary ball handler and floor spacer. However, prying him away from Boston is easier said than done. Favale mentioned that any serious trade would likely require a player such as Max Christie and at least one future first-round pick. Even then, Boston would have to agree to lean further into what he described as a gap-year reset, potentially involving a third team to balance salaries and shave off luxury tax. But let's be honest. The Celtics trading Pritchard for anything short of a star-level return would be a mistake. Because despite his shooting slump to start the season, Pritchard has quietly evolved. In Joe Mazzulla's new system, his perimeter game has struggled, but his offensive versatility has expanded. He's attacking the mid-range, driving into contact, creating opportunities for teammates, and showing flashes of the all-around game that made him indispensable during last year's championship run. Through 9 games, he's averaging 15.3 points, 4 rebounds, and just over 5 assists, shooting 43% from the field. Once the three-point rhythm returns, those numbers will rise quickly. And that's exactly why Boston should think twice before listening to outside noise. Peyton Pritchard isn't just another role player. He's the heartbeat of the Celtics' second unit. A proven winner, a locker room stabilizer, and one of the few players who can adapt to any offensive scheme. In a season where Tatum's absence has forced the team to rediscover its identity, losing the kind of presence would send the wrong message. Meanwhile, Dallas is desperate. Luka Doncic can't carry the offensive load alone, and Kyrie Irving's inconsistency has created serious pressure on the front office to act. The Mavericks need a reliable guard, and Pritchard fits that description perfectly. But the Celtics' situation is different. They're retooling, not rebuilding. They're waiting for Tatum's return, and every piece they keep now will determine how strong they are when their star is back. So the question becomes, what matters more? Immediate financial relief or long-term stability built around loyalty and chemistry? If Brad Stevens decides to move Pritchard for short-term gains, it might save a few $1 million today, but could cost Boston the identity that made them champions in the first place. And with the trade deadline approaching fast, the tension is rising. The Mavericks are calling. The Celtics are listening. But will Boston actually risk parting with a champion who represents the very core of their culture? Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and click the hype button now, because if this story develops, the NBA landscape could shift overnight.